Herzlich willkommen zum MMK-Talk. Dieser Talk heute Abend ist der letzte in diesem Jahr in der Reihe Kunst und Körper. Und ich möchte mich herzlich bedanken bei der Deutschen Bankstiftung, die seit vielen Jahren diese Reihe unterstützt. I would like to say a really warm welcome to our guests tonight, Leilah Weinraub and Benedict. As many of you will know, the current exhibition at MMK2, I'm a Problem, is entitled after work of Benedict, which is actually one of our most recent acquisitions for the MMK collection. And we are hugely grateful, Will, that, for your generosity to share the title of your work with our exhibition. Thank you. This is a video, some of you may have seen it already, that Will produced for and with the Detroit noise band Wolf's Eyes, with whom he has collaborated, or he's been collaborating for many years now. Some of you will be familiar with Will's work. He studied in Pasadena, but then at the Städelschule here in Frankfurt from 2004 to 2006, and he showed his work at Porticus. And during the last years, he had numerous solo exhibitions, among others at the Kunsthalle in Bergen in Norway. And he showed his work on several festivals and biennials, one of them being the last Berlin Biennial, where he showed I'm a Problem last year. Currently, his work is on view at the Young Museum in San Francisco as part of a project by DIS. And as he told me earlier today, he's currently working on a TV show that is due to be premiered and screened early next year online, so watch out for this. Tonight, Will is talking with Leilah Weinraub, who is an artist, filmmaker, and a writer. She was the CEO of a streetwear label, Hood by Air, which I think at the moment you stopped with the label, but this has been followed by Leilah for many years. And her recent film, Shakedown, was premiered at the Whitney Biennale earlier this year and is due to come to Europe next year on several film festivals. So again, watch out for the dates to see the film. We will get a little insight into the film at tonight's talk. Currently, Leilah told me earlier she's working on various book projects, and I'm really grateful for both of you for coming to Frankfurt tonight. Leilah from New York, Will from Paris. So thank you very much, Will, for proposing Leilah to come here. Will show us some excerpts of your recent works and then join in the discussion, and afterwards the discussion is open to the audience, so please feel free to join in and give a warm welcome to our guests tonight.
We're going to talk, I think, a little bit about individually what we have been trying to do in video lately. And then we'll show you bits of clips of what we do. And then we'll try to talk about it and then talk to you about it if you want to.
Are you going to just introduce? Okay.
I mean, I want you to introduce your own thing because I'm not qualified. Microphones are really weird. In Bergen, they made me wear a little headset thing. It was also uncomfortable. Okay, I'll go first. Yeah. I've been making videos for a little while now, and I end up kind of making them all with this one band called Wolf Eyes. So it originally started, I wanted to make a movie about food distribution, and I did that for Bergen Kunsthal. It's kind of an elaborate movie. We traveled to India, through France, the fish farms off the coast of Norway. It's kind of a pseudo-documentary. There's all these sci-fi elements in it, though. And that kind of got me started because I asked Wolf Eyes to do the soundtrack. And then they asked me to start making their music videos, so I did that a little bit. And that's kind of what that thing that you've seen with the alien is. It's really a music video for the band. It was commissioned by their record label, which is Third Man Records. It's just like it's like a budget from the record label. That amuses me or something. I like that idea. And then Berlin Biennial, people for Berlin Biennial wanted to show it, which is nice. And but where that kind of brought me was continuing to kind of do the same thing I always do, which is what I always do, is really the same thing over and over and over again. and which is collage, really. And so as you start to do the same thing over and over again, you get more and more ambitious about doing the same thing over and over again. And so right now it's just episode 1 of a TV show, 6 episodes in total, of this kind of cooking show I tried to make. Cooking show is a little misleading, but I still like to insist on the cooking show aspect. But it's really me as what we think of as an artist, whatever the fuck that means. I don't really find that it means that much anymore, or maybe never did. I don't know, I can't tell. I think I'm a painter. That's the way I get treated. I like having a job description like that. It feels like I paint walls. And that kind of makes sense to me. But at the same time, I wish all those hierarchies were broken down. I wish I was a dancer. I am a dancer, I think. So that's kind of...
Sorry, can I ask you questions now?
Yeah.
You said you're a dancer, but are you an actor?
A bad one. Yeah. I mean, but I'm a good liar, so I don't know.
No, I mean, actually, are you an actor?
No.
Okay, like you've never acted in your own pieces, in your own video?
Oh no, I'd be so shy. But I can't tell the difference between real life and movies, which is also I'm going to talk about too. So I don't know. I always think, like right now, I think I'm acting.
Right. So do you think are you going to be in, can you be?
No, I'm so embarrassed. No way. I wouldn't be in one of those. No.
I just bring it up because this is actually how I know you, is I know you first as an actor.
It's true.
And
I went to high school for theater. Yeah, that's why I was an actor. Why, did you see one of my plays?
No, it's just the first story that I heard about you when I was like a teenager was that you were like on top of a filing cabinet, like in a drama class, laughing at everyone in the class.
Comedy class. That was comedy.
During
crit. I was mean.
Right.
Yeah.
But so it's like I always think of you as an actor first, actually.
Right. I forgot that about myself. Good point, Leilah. So I really ended up trying to make a television show. But I think in a way that I failed at that because I'm not a television, I don't produce television. I make art as much as I am conflicted about that. Or no matter how much I want to be outside of that, I'm not finding a way outside of that. And so I try to stick to some of the conventions of television, and this is just episode 1 or whatever. And so yeah, this thing, they closed, this magazine closed, and they started This Art now, which is like a TV channel, will be online, and they're producing artist television, kind of. So this is how this thing got produced or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. How did you make Shakedown? Why? And when did you start? Really, what year did you start?
2002.
Yeah.
I was really young. So basically Shakedown is kind of like a look back at kind of an archive of this like long form, some could call it stalking, some could call it documentary filmmaking, but I basically found like a group of people that I followed for a really long time, and like during that process, the thing that was consistent is that I was interested in the group of people that I was following, and I had questions about. I guess the line of questioning was always the same. It was about work, like what you do and how you feel about what you do. Literally what you do. Describing like your day, like the process of labor. Like when you do your work, what it entails, like really details like that. And that's what we would talk about in the interviews. And then that leads to conversations about, like money, what you think about yourself. So
explain who, because you only said a group of people.
Oh, sorry. So like I in 2002 found this gay club that was really awesome, and I asked if I could work there, and they're like, what do you do? And so I asked if I could take pictures there. It was a strip club. It's actually like a variety exotic show. And so I asked if I could take pictures there, and I did. I took stills, and you know, when I got the pictures back, I saw them, and they kind of looked familiar, like I had seen things like that before, and didn't really like it, and so I just got a camera, and I started shooting the nights instead. So I taped the club I'll tell it real fast. I taped the club every Thursday and Friday for as long as it existed. And then I kind of like, people saw that I had a camera, so they would invite me to like their wedding or their like baby shower or like their like whatever, or like, and so I kind of like became a person with a camera for a lot of people. Then I started to have more formal interviews. Somewhere like the third year in there, I waited a little while. And so in that process, there was like all these times where I tried to like finish it and make it into like a finished piece. And so then I like encountered television, I guess, in finishing it, and people would tell me like how to finish it. They'd be like, okay, so there's this thing that exists already. It's called TV. This is the formula that you need to follow to make a program like for television, you know? So I tried that a lot, and you know, so I probably made like a Shakedown TV series, a Shakedown like 6-hour movie, a Shakedown, and so what I arrived at this year was a Shakedown 60-minute version of the film that was screened at the Whitney Biennale. I just want to say that I was unsuccessful at making it a TV show, and that I was like supposed to work with the people that at Real Sex, and they wanted to make it into a Real Sex show. Do you guys know that show? It's cheesy, but it's good, you know? But it's just like, it has all of the like titling. It looks and feels like a documentary. When you're in it, you know that you're watching a documentary. And so I just really, it's on HBO, yeah. I guess what I spent the most amount of time doing was making sure that I didn't make a documentary. And so a lot of people are I was going to say disappointed, but I don't think that's true either. So
people do want to follow conventions, and I mean, and it's totally understandable. So whether something looks like television, something looks like a documentary, something looks like a film, the expectations, it's very intense, the weight of expectations of what you're supposed to do. Right. And as artists, we're supposed to be breakers of those conventions in a way, or benders and stuff. And
yeah, I felt like that the container of like film or cinema, like outside of the word documentary, was the best way to express what I made here. Sometimes I think about what Will does and like the diss things too, and that they are, what is it called when you try to do something in TV? You're like, it's not a promo, it's called a pilot. Anyway, it's like a practice of making pilots. Anyway.
This is the pilot, essentially. Show it, mine, not her, but mine.
I don't have much more to say about Shakedown now. Maybe we should just watch it and then talk about it later.
Yeah.
You're gonna. Oh, I'm showing mine first. So this is just from the Whitney version. This is like I think a 10-minute clip somewhere near the end of the movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Tonight, Shakedown presents Bambi's Freaky Behavior Showcase. Special guests: Dallas, Egypt, Slow Wine, Mocha, Slim Goody, Jasmine.
Did you crack it over there? It's cracking out, baby. It's my birthday. It's baby party. I want to say thank you everybody for coming to the girl. I said she's representing the least.
Video is this medium. What are these distribution outlets that we have? What are these potential distribution outlets that we have? Become very, very important as the content itself. I think this is what both of us are trying to, because you're going to see my things roll different for what she makes.
Oh, I love that, Will. Well, I really like the size of that. You know,
That's like the second time I've seen it projected or something. What size of what?
just like the length of it, you know, and like TV makes sense. I guess if it was like, you think that's different than a movie?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the TV is different than a movie. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly where I'm at in a way, because I don't think this is going to work very well as TV, actually. So I'm going back to that same bullshit that all artists do, and I'm going to make some kind of installation out of it so that you're going to be forced to deal with it very physically. Because I don't know what I think about watching that on a YouTube thing. I like it really loud, first of all. You know, actually the thing how it is installed, my other Alien video right now, or whatever, how it's installed right now at MMK, that's the first time I've seen it installed correctly. Or, you know what I mean, or something like that. It's very loud in there. It's overwhelmingly loud. And that says something about how important this music is that I'm using, how I get to use that. 50% of my job is done. 80% of my job is done, I think, because I get this great music from this band.
Can I ask you about some things in the video?
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about your personal history with McDonald's?
Yeah. My dad made commercials for McDonald's. He made like really big commercials for McDonald's, really nice ones with very eccentric characters, like a moon man head thing. And before CGI, too. So it was a big animatronic moon man in a tuxedo playing a piano on a 2-story Big Mac. Seriously, I know. Maybe you saw it. It's Mac Tonight. I don't know. It didn't really come to Europe. But it's kind of something you see around and stuff. And now the alt-right has adopted it as a Pepe-like figure for them. And they put him into this, they put this man, moon man, on a 2-story Big Mac in crusader outfits, as if he's going to go and fight the infidels.
Are you sure it's him?
Well, some facsimile of Mac Tonight. Yes, I'm sure it's him. Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
did they let
I don't
him?
know. I don't know how they decided that Pepe the Frog was a Nazi either. I don't know how that happened. I don't really understand. But it is now. It has become that. Yeah.
And then I really like how this connected to the other movie. Is it called Raining? What is it called?
The one here?
No, the other one with David.
Toilets, not temples.
Yeah. But like, can you talk about just that and that idea of food distribution?
Yeah.
Or I mean,
yeah.
where
No,
you're
I
at
can.
with-
Yeah. I mean, food distribution was a stand-in for consumption altogether. The way we just read image, the way we consume images, the way our entire culture is like moving. So food is just a really easy stand-in for me, so that I can seem light on my feet, I think, actually, if that makes sense. If I were to talk about if I was trying to go after consumerism in another way, I think it would be more didactic or less funny. And food just really worked for me, because I get to fucking jam everything in there then. because we treat food so stupid, and we're so stupid about it. It's, you know, and I think that there's a space for some humor then in that, since stupidity is the basis. Big fan of stupidity. Yeah. What was LA like in 2002?
It was after 9/11 and pre-Obama, so it was very segregated. And the way that people knew how to even drive around LA is totally different than how it is now. There's like 2 totally different LAs. One was south of the 10 freeway, which like there is the history of that freeway is that there was neighborhoods that were like affluent black neighborhoods, and then the freeway was just like put right through it and sliced the city into 2, and it continues to remain to be that way. Los Angeles, the way people think about Los Angeles is north of the 10 freeway. Sorry for people that have never been there, but the majority of LA is south of the 10 freeway. So it was very segregated. Racist is too small of a word to like talk about it, but it was just people really didn't know each other. And I think the only experience that you have of Los Angeles, it's a really cool place. It's huge. There's so many different lives you could live in that city. And the only time that you really get to like experience the like breadth of the city is in high school, because there's a busing program that like brings people from like wherever you live 2 hours away to where you don't live. I was bused from where I lived in Koreatown to Venice Beach, which is like an hour and a half away, and then another time I was bused 2 hours away. So, but in your high school,
I did it too.
In your high school experience, you get to experience in LA that is utopic, actually.
Also, it was dangerous too.
Which in a way is utopic.
Yes.
You get to like experience other people. It's sexy. That's what I was thinking about your piece too, is that it's hot in a scary way, and that, you know, that works. I guess that, yeah, I know that feels right, you know? But also that's how high school is too. It's hot in a scary way.
People really died in our high school. It was, or not, we didn't go to the same high school, but we went to high school at the same time.
I didn't have a normal, I had to go to boarding school, so I didn't have an American high school experience, so I didn't get to like do the fun things that they got to do. But anyway, so I always think about Los Angeles as a experience of utopia, and that's kind of like what I was thinking about with Shakedown, because it was just like this bubble moment in a lesbian world that was like nobody knew about, that was completely utopic. And that's kind of like what I thought about my high school experience. Like I went to high school in Israel, which I think even the state of Israel is a practice in attempting a utopia, failure included, and or time included. And I also think that I've been able to like experience a lot of different utopic moments that are really special. I think Hood by Air is one of them too. Like when I first moved to New York, I think Ghetto Gothic was a utopic moment. I think that our childhood was too. So anyway,
all very brief.
They all
brief.
end, and I think that's what I think about is like how you can define utopia. Is it actually has to end at some point, because there's things that you learn and are contained in that space that everybody else needs to know about. So maybe it's like the point of dissemination is the end of the dream. Sorry to be a bummer.
Is it because I'm straight that I was never looking for a utopia?
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. It was
You
you
are straight
man that I always just thought, oh, this is it. I got my feet on the ground. I own this town or something like that.
Oh, I don't think I was looking for. Wait, I am. Like yes, I don't know.
I think implied in utopia is the search for it, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it just happens to you.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know.
I think you like are like, oh.
It like manifests.
You don't have that experience?
I couldn't put it in those terms. Yeah, I don't know. I've honestly never spent time thinking about the idea of utopia.
Oh, really?
No.
Maybe I spent more time out at night.
Yeah.
It could
I'm
be
a homebody. I love my couch.
Yeah, I feel like I learned everything at a nightclub.
Yeah. You talk more about what it was like to try to cut this actual thing that happened, to cut all this footage and real things that happened into television,
Right.
into documentary, into film. What are those?
Right,
What
okay.
are those differences?
It
What is that?
was very hard to yeah, I don't know how to answer that actually.
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's tough for me too, I have to admit. And that's a bit, I'm trying to understand what even art is right now. I'm trying to understand what video is. I'm trying to understand what television is. I'm trying to understand what my place in that is, how I can exploit different opportunities that the different conventions provide for me.
Yeah.
And it's not evident. And you mentioned something upstairs to me, that it's really our responsibility completely to orchestrate that. And that it's actually very difficult to rely on people to do it for us, or something like that. And I hadn't really thought about that. I'm still looking for people to do something for me.
That was just about, that's a byproduct of therapy that I was talking about that. I don't know if it has to do with distribution, but yeah, I don't know what to say about all of that stuff. I'm learning about it. I think that like in reality, there's...
But you've been working on this for a long time and you're still at that stage of, because I am too, really not understanding how to, outside of, a great place like this, giving us this chance, I don't see, I don't have other opportunities or anything like that.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot. It just seems like everything is possible. I'm not in the zero opportunity place. I just think that it's really like about...
I mean, outside of art, outside of this art.
I don't know, man.
You're taking your thing to Rotterdam, is what I'm trying to get to. And that is completely separate.
I guess what I'm working on is something that is like I'm trying to get people to stop telling me what I do, or just stop defining things. Like I'm trying to finish work and also get people to get away from me at the same time. And the more I do it myself, then the less people have an opportunity to define my work, and then as soon as it's like pinpointed, it doesn't even exist anymore. I'm just trying to always point at it and not really like poke it.
So you see this in-between space that I'm trying to describe as a safe space in a way, because people haven't...
I just feel like there's this is an American thing. There's an effort that everyone makes to make something a genre. And that I feel like we've talked about this before, just even the idea of folk music or R&B or country music, that R&B was, like Elvis was R&B, but I guess now we would think about him as rock and roll. Anyway, so these are ways to actually, they're just marketing terms to divide audience by race and whatever. So
Because rap or hip hop is actually folk music, technically.
yeah, I guess, and folk, what does folk mean? It means that I'm a person performing for people that I know, and someone from the audience that I know can also come to the stage and perform too in the same. Anyway, so all I'm trying to do in my work now is try to, and it also I think was a big deal with Hood by Air, is get people away from defining what the thing is, and just try to be in as many places as possible, and also make something that feels like something awesome so that people want to continue to listen. And that's maybe what I was working on the most, was trying to something that has like the gravitas or the impact of something that feels corporate, actually. So like making it feel really big and not knowing if there's one maker or many makers or whatever, and kind of in some way being anonymous. Anyway, so presenting as indestructible. Does it sound like I'm just lying right now? But anyway, and I think that that's the game, is to be able to like function in different spaces, but you know, because the content is so good, you know.
Have you thought of
And that means setting the par like really high, and that takes a long time, I guess.
So what it is that they're trying to make a TV channel online, like I mentioned. That's, I think, an unprecedented attempt or something like that. I mean, I know in the 80s there was some attempt to make TV and art shake hands. Namjoon Paik and Warhol and stuff. But it's very strange to me that I can only look back to like the 80s, and then there's this huge gap of time, it seems. I know there's smaller attempts, but a massive organized attempt to make art television channel, and when we get that in 2017 now. And I'm curious if that is going to work at all as a thing.
Yeah, of course.
Did you think about, I mean, I know that you know them. That's not something that made sense for you, though?
It seems awesome.
What is it about the film festival circuit why is that what you want to get involved in? What does that provide? I want to know. I just don't even know about it.
I wanted the film to be critically reviewed, and people who
on those terms as
yeah. So I'm trying to put it in a place where it can be reviewed in that way, and it's really about market too. It's about selling it. So selling it really has to do with like the life of the film, and if it's going to go away, next year, or if it will be available to be seen in like 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And I don't know. I think that really I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm trying to get to like people, and I'm like trying to avoid all of the middlemen, because it doesn't really matter, Anyway, we got to see the show today, and there was some crossover with your video and like some of the pieces in the show. But it was just, I just wanted to say that out loud. But the blood, the condoms, the egg, and I would love for you to talk about that and your piece of the show.
I just saw that show today for the first time. It is a really weird show, Peter. It's very strange, and it's a bit the point. Why I was excited that you first brought up the idea was that a theater director or theater set designer would be curating and designing the show. God, why doesn't that happen more often? I mean, it's a very dangerous idea. It can go wrong. I don't even mind if it goes wrong. I even think maybe half that show is wrong in a way, but that's its strength, that all that misunderstanding and all that in-betweenness, that there is not more space for that kind of thinking is very disappointing right now in our culture. I really felt that at some historical moment we made a huge effort to break down these hierarchies. This desire, I clearly stated that I am a dancer, and even though in my occupation and my French taxes it clearly says I'm a painter. But the way our culture re-solidified those conventions and those genres is...
Well, actually, I feel like because it's so different that it actually is really for what feels very XXX rated to me. And I don't... anyway, that scary, sexy thing that I was talking about before. And I feel like inside of these clean genres, there's really little room for like things to be explicit. It's very like clean and tidy, and the genre makes it. The genre makes you make it the edit. You know, edit your content or like your idea to the genre. You know. Anyway, so
And there's a lot of sex in your show.
Or violent.
And violence that you have here. And yet I don't see it taken for granted or something like that. And it's a rare achievement, I think. If we see so much sex and violence, not just, I don't mean like in our fictional things, but I mean on the, like, I mean Harvey Weinstein, I mean Donald Trump, right. I mean all this kind of stuff. It seems that that should be reflected in what we're
Well, no, it wasn't explicit sex, you know, and it wasn't explicit violence either. Yeah. So it wasn't.
But my obsession lately has been the way that the television has been mirroring actual events, and not quite, almost like from a sideways mirror, like a mirror at an angle. And to explain that, House of Cards now. Kevin Spacey, our scandalous president, got assassinated in season 4. Now Kevin Spacey turns out to be a sexual predator, and now he has to be edited out of the thing, and actually has to be killed now in season 6 or whatever. And while he survived the assassination, he has to be re-killed again because he has to be kicked out of the Hollywood, in a sense. And that is amazing. And that is happening. I see that again and again and again. And my favorite example of that is the way RuPaul Drag Race mirrors in season 8 and season 9 the Trump campaign and finally the Trump victory. And you see the way that RuPaul is addressing the contestants, who and why people are moving forward is a lot based on the cultural problems we were having in the United States at that moment.
Was the most controversial person moving forward, or the dump?
No, who won season 8 was very much an activist, Bob the drag queen, and who only reached the 4th place was Chi-Chi DeVane, who is very much a rural Southern. Her vocabulary is rural and Southern, let's say. And that, she's very funny. That's nothing to take away from her, but only an urban activist could win that season, and Chi-Chi couldn't make it any further because of her limitations in how she engaged verbally with the other contestants and stuff like that. Not to say, it was really style, it was not substance. And it's not to criticize RuPaul or something like that. Really, even though RuPaul can be. What I love about that show also is that you really see someone trying to stake out a place for political incorrectness. And that is a very tricky game.
Or for comedy.
Or for comedy. Definitely. God damn it. Yes, for comedy.
But I'm sorry, can you circle,
Yeah.
can you like say how that was part of like mirroring or refracting the election?
Well, you really saw the way the contestants moved forward reflected the arguments that were happening in our culture at the moment about how one speaks. This concentration that we have in America of intellectual urban areas, and how that's come to define and slice our country in half, this division. I don't know, it was just very clear in season 8. It was great. Anyway, there's a lot of that going on, I feel. Right now, Doctor Who, of course, Doctor Who, 13th Doctor is going to be a woman, finally, after 12 Doctors. It's very meaningful. It's really very meaningful. Yeah. I don't know, the rise of South Asian actors in America is an amazing phenomenon. Isn't it? even Aziz Ansari or whatever, and then, but there's so many.
Oh, yeah.
And sorry, we come from a very specific culture. We shouldn't talk about it so much. I know it annoys people who come from other countries. Does anybody have any questions? Anything to say? Comments?
Why is it that you're so obsessed with TV? Because like for many people, TV is very simple, and I don't want to judge it because I really enjoy it very often.
Yeah.
But both of you kind of are. It's kind of American actually that you're.
I don't know.
And
Is it?
Also that you're from LA. It's fascinating how you're so
Yes.
obsessed with
Oh, right.
with
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I thought it was funny we get together and talk about this. We'll sound like LA kids.
Well, I thought that the only way that when I was like thinking about the idea of underground, or I was like, I have even no idea what that is. I was like, isn't everything underground? What is mainstream culture? And I guess what I think mainstream culture is, or my experience of mainstream culture, is what you watch on TV together, you know? And so like the news, or Real Housewives is mainstream culture. That's something that like we experience together, and that's the only thing.
My favorite.
And that's why politics come out of these shows. People experience, you know, they literally politics literally come out of.
I know that television
These
doesn't
shows.
affect European culture the way that it affects American culture, but you really cannot underestimate how deeply it affects us. We are completely integrated. It is wild.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's great European television that does exactly what I'm into. There's a show called Occupied. It's a Norwegian thriller kind of show. I call it the Norwegian Homeland. And it's set slightly in the future. And the Russians have invaded Norway because Norway cut off oil production to the EU. And the EU allowed Russia to go in and reopen the pipelines. And at this moment, and why it's especially touching for me, is that at the moment when I watched this show in 2015, in the TV show, the United States is no longer in NATO. So I was like, that's really not believable. I was like, that's the failure of Occupied, is that as if the United States could ever leave NATO. And now, 1 year later, is that dumbass threatening to, you know, at least talking shit as if he's gonna like leave NATO. That's amazing to me. So I know that it's an American obsession, but I see a great Norwegian show that really captures the spirit of exactly what I'm interested in. The fantasy, sci-fi, slightly futuristic or alternate reality that we're all living in. And then there's Danish television, it's insanely good. I don't know, Borgen, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I could say more about how it's so important. I just don't know what else there is.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's like, it's a simulation.
Don't let your culture get dragged down that rabbit hole. The French are fighting it right now, you know. Yeah, the French, they fight it in every way that they can, the whole idea of it, but yeah. I don't know. To me, television also is the highest form of art right now. I absolutely believe that. I think the most sophisticated art is being made in episodes on HBO and AMC and whatever. I think, yeah.
Also, because of the television thing, is more like a format, like to like build up like a discourse and then like tell something that we used to make through these like broadcasting companies, and now we have like Netflix, HBO, and all that stuff. But how is that? And I'm like, I hear you what you're saying, both of you, about like TV and like the format of like the difficult to like get distribution, because like that's mainly the problem that, I don't know, it's like the main problem from every filmmaker somehow. And how is that like? How does YouTube or like in other internet platforms play in this like whole picture of trying to like do art in the highest form through TV?
I mean, that's the mess. That's the mess of all trying to produce video. Because that video that's here at the museum, that's in the collection, is on YouTube. So that makes my galleries unhappy. And that's just something I have to deal with all the time. It's actually a pain in the fucking ass that I'm not allowed, for me, just put it out. I just want it out there. I love YouTube.
Okay.
But you don't put your shit on YouTube, because you have to protect your product more than I do.
I don't.
No?
Question mark. It might go on YouTube.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But I was like, in New York, there is like a word that's going around a lot called experiences. And it is like not being said in a commercial way yet, but it's the most commercial. It's very commercial. I think that people are even, okay, so Netflix last year, I think in 2016, spent between $6 and $7 billion on new content, which is like a lot of money. It's a huge amount of money. Anyway, so what's going to happen is there'll be this like enormous amount of material made. And what will happen after that is the way that you sift through it is that you have to actually return to life, to real life, and make your piece, and then also make experiences, which I think is, either could be commercial and suck, or is really exciting and exactly the same as and maybe make your gallery happy. But at some point, I just think that it's the alone together thing happened, where we're all alone watching the same thing and then kind of like talking about it digitally, and that it's like there is I don't know, I'm optimistic, and I think that there's like a coming back around to like experiencing things in real life, which means when I watch your video online, it's completely different than seeing it in the gallery. And because like it affects my physical body, and I really think that people are asking for real life again, or to use their bodies, or how to have a body might even be the next thing to do, And I don't know. I feel. Also, that's kind of why I'm like in film festivals and like trying to like actually have a real life experience with things. It just seems right,
Me too. I really very strongly second that. It's something I just realized very recently myself, that I really want these videos to be a physical experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And be read by the body.
I wanted to come back to that Kevin Spacey thing you were talking about. My question is, it's a good act of the society, or of a director to cut him out of a movie, but I'm always asking myself, shouldn't we and somehow separate between public and private person, or is there a possible way? It's also a question to you, as you are artists.
Yeah, I would say no. Also, I don't think that that's possible. My experience of TV also is democratizing celebrity and making it TV does something where it digests power in interesting ways. For a long time, America was ruled by celebrities. And then regular people like Tila Tequila, if anyone remembers MySpace, was the first one to rip that apart, and be like, I can have that too. And now it's completely democratized, and anyone can be a celebrity, like my cousin is, just because she has she's really good at Instagram. And so I think that that's also part of our, or my obsession with TV, is that it takes these big power, these chunks of power, and kind of really helps you shred through them. Anyway, so about privacy, I don't even believe that that's a thing. Is that?
No, I don't have a private life. But I don't really. I really am this idiot in front of you. I don't know. It's a very interesting question because I think it goes back to some of our most famous poets or something like that, right? I mean, that's kind of what that leads to, right? Can we have respect for Ezra Pound or T.S. Eliot? Wasteland is everything I want to make. Wasteland, the poem Wasteland is everything I want to do. And the man was an anti-Semite. And right now, that's what they're talking about Bill Cosby. It's what they're talking about now, like, actually an entire culture is getting evaluated right now in those terms, in those conditions about what we think of as private thought, life of versus the artists and their product that supposedly has some distance and stuff. And while as much as I do believe in distance and self-awareness, but no, you're a package. I can't do the schizophrenic thing. It's one package.
I also think that that's transparent, and that's nice too. You get to see what people are made out of.
And that's what RuPaul, that's what Drag Race is all about. I mean, that's what reality TV shows are about, but that's in Drag Race, that's where you see it.
Well, yeah.
I
also think that's a socialist concept too, to describe what you do, and banal or complex.
Are you talking about even like Brecht, just because now we're together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
In the beginning, you mentioned that you were quite happy that this music label actually founded, or the production costs were founded by this music label, right? I was wondering, what's the difference for you? What does it make actually a difference where the money is coming from? Let's say it's from a music label or from a gallery or from an institution like the MMK or even from Hulu or Amazon or Netflix. So what is it that...
I don't know. I think money matters. I think different types of money matter.
Is it because you felt like you were working for hire, your work for hire?
No, because, supposedly this is the snobbiest highest. In a way,
So did you feel like?
But it's true that I do have a problem with snobby. I live in Paris too, so you can see I'm a masochist. But I really have a thing with whatever we think even snobbiness might be. But it goes back to that thing about hierarchies that I was talking about, and divisions of genre and convention. This is very boring to me. And so I guess a little bit, just those starting points, I start to, I think that money was just about something else. It was just that I can do something outside of the museum and the gallery. I have that desire. It's a strong desire within me, and I don't know what it is.
So it's quite a relief if the money is coming from somewhere else than from the art world.
It interests me greatly.
Yeah.
Let's say, yeah. I'm not sure. I have to think about it more. But I know it's a very deep-seated desire to connect pieces outside of this thing that I'm used to, which is the art world or something. And another reason I want to talk, because you always have your foot half in and half out. Leilah, very much is someone straddling fashion, art, and when I say fashion, I mean like fucking fashion. I live in Paris. I know what that world is. It's very separate from my world or something. I don't know if that answered the question. Sorry.
Do you think if it's good enough, it could work everywhere?
No.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't work that way. I mean,
are you sure?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Sterling Ruby's paintings are just as bad when they're in the museum as they are when they're in the Calvin Klein ads. I don't know. Maybe it is all bad. But I thought it was kind of better when it wasn't in the Calvin Klein ads. I was just fooling myself, I think, now, apparently. I don't know. And I also don't want to judge it that harshly, too, because I don't care, really.
Because maybe it is the the presentation, the context gives the work more gravitas than it's working with. Is that possible?
Yeah, how we read gravitas is really important. You know, sincerity and seriousness is really something. Oh my God, you got to maintain that. Can't just be a clown. Because I want to be a clown. You got to keep the other half.
I'm asking myself if you both maybe sometimes feel yourself like in cage in this shape of art product, and if it's the case, maybe this could be the reason why you would kind of like try different terrain to. Like just trying to jump somewhere else and feel yourself.
I think we have our own very separate relationships to that. But for me, you know, the video thing is the uncaged version, or it's the bigger cage. Being a painter is a tiny little cage, to me, in a way. Or my experience of trying to put that out into the world, trying to distribute that, seemed like a much smaller cage with much more narrow expectations of what that's going to be. That's just been my own experience, though. But you very much have probably, I mean, I'm sure running a large fashion label is very different in caginess to making videos or something.
I don't know. I think that I think that I'm just trying to do the same idea over and over again, and like figure out. I don't know. Maybe I'm trapped in an idea, and trying to figure out different ways to like get it out.
Is it? Does it feel like closure repeating it for you? Because you kind of probably have an urge by repeating it to dissolve this.
I think people only have one idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like everybody?
Yeah, in a way.
Like all people have the same idea, or is it?
No.
Like each person has.
I mean, probably actually.
Like
but
that's what I was.
No, that's not what I meant. Okay. I meant individually.
Yeah.
I think we're born with the potential for an idea,
Okay.
and I hope that we reach that. We have the potential for that one idea, and I think we just repeat it. I don't sense that I have more than what I'm doing.
I've got another question for Leilah. So you were saying like this producing Shakedown was kind of felt like something you kind of had to do anyways because it was like very close to an urge of stalking in a way, or like I don't want to like only put it like this, but why, if you're being like voyeuristic in that context, why filming it? Like, because you could just as much have gone there and I don't know, kind of done that for yourself. And it's also really interesting because you always kind of break with a voyeuristic view, like, and there are several moments where the camera goes down and you can see your feet, and it's always this break between, pardon me? And the money and the hands, and I don't know, it's not like a classic documentary, of course. So I'm rather asking, why filming it when you're also very included in the situation?
I wasn't 100% on the ways that sex had been filmed already, you know? I thought it was missing something hot and I thought it was off base. The sex was off, you know, and so I was trying to.
In other examples of.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wanted to see the sex that you wanted to see.
Right. And I wanted it to come through like how I felt it, you know? So I put so I was trying to, I tried to capture it or just be there and feel it, experience the show.
Celebrate it even, let me say.
Yeah.
It's very celebratory. And
yeah. Well, I mean, I was just trying to have it, you'd be like, actually, really it's about the idea of like a woman, you know? And like what a woman feels like, and I was not sure that was 100% yet in film, and that like women were the power or intensity of like or different ways that women are aggressive, sexually aggressive. There could be, that court story could be added to a lot, you know? So, I guess that's what I was trying to do. And, yeah, does that answer that question? Yeah, I just think that, I don't know, that's kind of, to say it in like such a simple way, but that's what I'm into. It's like history and sex and women, and like, you know, just trying to like push it forward.
Complicate it.
Make it exist, actually. Make it public that it exists. It's very private, actually. My experience of this, that's what kind of why I was talking about Utopia, is it's an extremely private experience, you know? And I think that like once you experience it, you're like, oh, this exists, it's awesome, and then you know how to do it immediately, and then you do it. So it's a legend in a way too, of like how to have that experience or be that, which maybe Will's talking about with Drag Race, honestly. But yeah, not to like connect it too much, but yeah. So I was trying to just be there, I guess.
Thank you very much for this amazing talk.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.